Analysis: U.S. Senate Democrats' bill will make mark on weather, healthcare fees. Washington: the $430 billion weather change, healthcare and tax bill the U.S. Senate started debating on Saturday night could supply a major win for Democrats and will assist lessen the carbon emissions that drive climate alternate at the same time as additionally reducing fees for the elderly. Democrats desire the invoice, which they aim to push via the Senate over united Republican opposition, will improve their chances inside the November 8 midterm elections, when Republicans are desired to recapture the bulk in as a minimum one chamber of Congress. The bundle, referred to as the Inflation Reduction Act, is a dramatically scaled-back model of a previous invoice sponsored via Democratic President Joe Biden that become blocked by means of maverick Senate Democrats Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema as too costly. It's what the American humans need, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer advised journalists. We're prioritizing the middle magnificence, operating households, those suffering to get to the center class, in preference to what Republicans do, prioritize the ones on the very top. If the Senate passes the invoice, which probably might require a tie-breaking vote from Vice President Kamala Harris, it'd send the rules onto the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives, which intends to take it up on Friday, and then Biden ought to sign it into law. Republicans blasted the invoice as a spending wish listing that they argued would hurt an economy weighed down by using inflation, saying it'd kill jobs, boost energy expenses and undermine boom at a time when the economic system is dealing with a capability recession. The Democrats' maximum current reckless tax and spending spree suffers from a critical case of coverage whiplash, mentioned Republican Senator Chuck Grassley on Saturday. The remaining thing businesses and families need proper now are tax hikes and a rash of poorly vetted policies, growing even greater confusion and uncertainty in the financial system. About one-half of Americans, some 49%, support the bill, consisting of 69% of Democrats and 34% of Republicans, consistent with a Ipsos poll conducted August 3 and 4. The most famous detail of the invoice is giving Medicare the electricity to negotiate drug fees, which 71% of respondents assist, including 68% of Republicans. Economists, who say the rules may want to help the Federal Reserve fight inflation, do no longer assume a significant impact on the financial system in coming months. Climate focus: with $370 billion in climate-focused spending, it'd end up the most consequential climate trade invoice ever exceeded by means of Congress. The bill gives groups and households billions in incentives to inspire purchases of electric vehicles and energy-efficient home equipment, as well as to spur new investments in wind and sun strength that might double the amount of new, smooth electricity generating potential coming online within the United States via 2024, in line with modeling by way of the REPEAT project at Princeton University. That would put the U.S. on course to meet its pledge to scale down its greenhouse fuel emissions in half by means of 2030 beneath 2005 levels, made at final year's Glasgow Weather Summit. While environmental companies in large part embraced the invoice, they noted that compromises secured with the aid of Manchin, who represents coal-producing West Virginia, could extend U.S. use of fossil fuels. Those provisions encompass rules that might solely permit the federal authorities to authorize new wind and sun power developments on federal land when it's also auctioning rights to drill for oil and herbal fuel. Drug costs: the law might lower drug costs for the authorities, employers and patients, said Juliette Kubanski, deputy director of the Medicare software on the Kaiser Family Foundation. Perhaps the biggest effect could be for people with prescription drug coverage through Medicare, she mentioned. A key exchange is the supply permitting the federal Medicare health plan for older and disabled Americans to barter lower prescription drug fees. The pharmaceutical industry says price negotiation could stifle innovation. Negotiated expenditures for 10 of the most costly tablets for Medicare would apply starting in 2026, with that variety rising till it caps at 20 a year in 2029. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates Medicare would keep $101.8 billion over 10 years by way of negotiating drug expenditures. The provision also introduces a $2,000 annual cap on out-of-pocket expenses for the aged through the Medicare program. Tax provisions. The bill additionally imposes a new excise tax on stock buybacks, a late exchange after Sinema raised objections over any other provision that would have imposed new levies on carried hobby, presently a tax loophole for hedge fund and personal fairness financiers.